Hey, how's it going? Brian here from rvwithtito.com, and welcome back to another remodel video. We're gonna wrap up this project here on this TV lift cabinet that has the desk and the table and this cool little shoe rack on the side. So yeah, we're gonna install the TV lift this time. Need to work on the countertop. You can see it over there. Looks really nice, this little walnut top, and we'll get it all hooked up in the RV, wired up, and install a couple of outlets, and we'll be good to go. Now, before I get started, I want to mention, if you joined me for the last video, you'll remember that I initially painted these support pieces black, and I didn't really like it. So you can see here that I've refinished them, kind of distressed it a little bit, stained it this walnut stain, and it looks pretty close to what we're going to be using here for the top surface. So pretty excited. I like it much better than I did before. So let's go ahead and get started working on this this countertop, and we'll get this TV lift all figured out and up and running. Well, thanks to IKEA, we ended up with this really nice pre-finished walnut countertop. It's got the exact look that we were looking for, and I had looked at all of the options available to build a custom countertop. You know, what kind of wood was I going to use? How was I going to finish it just right? And you know, hoping it was going to turn out just perfectly. But recently, Melissa wanted to go to IKEA to pick up some cushions, and I said, okay, let's go to IKEA. And we didn't find the cushions, but in the kitchen section, I was looking at their laminate countertops, including this one, and I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for. So I ended up picking up a big section of this countertop, and I've already kind of cut it down a little bit. And this is going to work out just right, I think, and it's going to save me a lot of time from actually building a countertop from scratch. Now, I'm still going to need to make some major modifications to it in order to have this TV lift section in the middle come up out of the middle. So in order to accomplish that, I'm going to have to cut it in 3 strips and then cut out a middle strip and then reassemble it. Now, I got this technique from another guy on YouTube. John Peters has a woodworking channel, and he did a video about how he built this this TV lift cabinet countertop, similar to this, but his was about half the thickness. But I'll drop a link to that if you want to check it out and see what he did, learn from that. But yeah, I picked up a lot of tips from his video, and I'm going to pretty much follow that same process for this. So let's see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to go just perfect because nothing ever goes wrong. But let's get to cutting this thing up. Okay, well, all the pieces are now cut, and some of this is going to get reassembled, but you can see it laid out here. This is the center section where the TV lift is going to be, and it's getting a little complicated, I have to be quite honest. But the sides here's the front, and these side pieces in the back, those are all going to get glued back together again, and be like one solid piece here with this hole. And then this middle part is gonna be hinged and sit right here in the middle. So I'm kind of down to one of the critical parts of this project, which is to install the hinges. And I've been a little bit unsure about this step because it's a little bit complicated, and I decided to make it difficult on myself and go with these fancy hinges. So these are called invisible hinges, and because you don't see them. So I've practiced installing these. So there's a hinge inside here, you can't see it. So the idea here is that the lift is going to push this up, and then when it comes down, it's going to fall back and close, and you won't see a visible hinge on either side. So I've had to make a little jig for this and get it all dialed in so that it works just perfectly, I hope, for this thickness of material. And I actually, now that I have the top, I went ahead and just practice. I just made one using this countertop material. Good thing I have a little extra piece here, and just to see if it's going to work and if I can get it all lined up right. So you can see here, there's another one of those hinges. So there's going to be two. There's going to be one here, and it's going to hinge this top up. So that's the idea. I'm going to go ahead and cut these hinges now, get them installed, and I hope I don't screw it up. We'll line this up here, right in the middle. Okay, here it is. It looks really nice, but it did take a bit of time and effort to get everything just lined up just right, and a lot of detail work to get all these edges looking pretty nice. Now, a couple things I wanted to point out. I went ahead and mounted the lid back in here. You can see I got the hinges in, and they're all lined up. I put a couple of stop blocks in here, and so it stops when it goes down like that. Ultimately, it's going to be controlled by the TV lift, but works pretty good right now. I ended up having to put a little bevel on the front here just to make it easier for this to close like that, since it is kind of a thicker material. Which brings me to the point I wanted to make about this stuff. So this counter I got from IKEA, and it's not a solid piece of walnut, so it's a laminate counter, and which means that when you cut it, you know, it's got these exposed kind of wood filler sides to it. So here's what it looks like on the inside. You can see this material here, and it's covered with a nice kind of a 1/16 of an inch laminate, which is nice looking laminate. But yeah, when you cut it, you have this exposed edge. So what I had to do with this is to actually cover the edges after I cut this piece out of the middle, and I had to cover the front. Now luckily they give you some spare edge pieces here of laminate. So these are for the end pieces, so if you do end up shortening it, you can glue these to the end, and then finish it up, and you know, sand them down and what have you. And it's got some VHB tape, so it actually adheres really, really well. So this is what I use on the sides here, and one of the sides of this, and it ends up looking really good. Now for the front, you know, I didn't want the front to have that kind of end, that end texture that looks like the end of a board, end of a butcher block. So I ended up having to cut some long pieces, and just ripped the long grain off of a piece. In fact, this was the one I cut. So I cut actually cut the laminate right off of it, so I could create some new laminate to use on the front here, and that's what I did. So I cut away this angle, and then I glued a new piece of laminate on the front, and then the rest was just kind of filing and sanding and filling and just getting it to look nice and finished. And lines up really nice, and it's nice and flush when it goes down, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. But yeah, it was a bit of effort. Well, I'm about ready to get this all assembled in the RV, but there's a couple things I wanted to show you that I did to help that process go a little bit smoother. And one of the things I did was I put the lid on top of the cabinet, and I mounted these just pieces of wood just as guides. So it's designed so that I can place it down and it'll fit just perfectly in the exact position that I need it to, so I don't have to remeasure and align everything. So here's one of the mounting points for the countertop is going to be here. Screw it in right here through this cubby hole, and there's two more screws that are going in here through this support piece, and then two more over here. Now the TV lift cabinet is actually going to function as a support as well, because there's 4 screws here holding it to this top brace, and the TV lift is actually also going to be bolted to the floor. So being bolted to the cabinet and screwed into the floor is going to actually give it a lot more support. Alright, well, I've got the unit all wired up right now. If you remember from the first video or two, I had all this cabling coming in here when I removed the old sofa, or that jackknife sofa. So what I did here is I cleaned it up. I put a little electrical box over that opening, and coming in here we have 120 volt AC power. I have a DC power source here, and I rig it up with this nice little plug, so that'll power my USB outlets, and also have a cable TV connection. Right now we don't really use that much. So now with power to the unit, it's just a matter of connecting all this stuff. I need to move it in place, attach the countertop, and bolt the lift down to the ground, and put some L brackets in to secure everything, and plug it in, and we should be ready to go. Well, we've had a chance to really use this and enjoy this new piece in here for the last couple days, and I know how I feel about this, but what do you think, Melissa?
I'm beyond thrilled. This turned out way better than I had expected, and it meets our needs perfectly.
I agree.
We have been talking about this for over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we went out, we would talk about, wouldn't it be great if, and talk about the design. And it's just, it's amazing. We can eat here, watch TV, use it as a bar,
Very
to look
functional.
out at this amazing view. I'm excited.
Me too. Well, I hope you like this build. I'm really enjoying this too. And if you have any questions, comments, drop them below. And hope you tune in for the other videos in the remodel series. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.